Hi everybody and welcome to Google SAS Office Hours. My name is Ethan Gracer. I'm a customer engineer on the Google CBRS team. My role is to help our customers understand how our SAS works, troubleshoot any technical issues, and more broadly provide context and guidance for using CBRS. Today's session will be 30 to 50 minutes. I'll spend about 10 to 20 minutes discussing the transition process from Part 90Z to Part 96 devices for wireless broadband licensees. After I finish the presentation, I'll open up the floor to questions. You'll notice that there is a chat window to the right of this video. Please feel free to ask questions as I give the presentation, keeping in mind that questions are viewable by everyone who's watching. Your questions don't have to be about the presentation topic. Anything about Google SAS or CBRS is fair game. No need to wait for me to finish talking before putting questions in. The YouTube Live platform has a 30-second to 1-minute delay, so you won't hear me answer your question immediately, but I promise that I'll get to it. I'll do my best to answer all the questions before the time is up. If I don't get to your question, or if any other questions come to mind after office hours have finished, know that you can always refer to our help center at support.google.com/SAS, or if you can't find your questions there, you can reach out to us for support at sas-support@google.com. Okay, let's talk about Part 90 devices. So some important things to know about FCC Part 90Z. So these are the FCC regulations that specifically cover wireless broadband licensees in the 3650 to 3700 piece of spectrum. All users who have been operating under Part 90Z are required to transition to Part 96, which is the FCC regulations for CBRS, by a date set by the FCC, and that date depends on the individual operator. The one thing to know that just was announced very recently, most people have probably already heard, but in case you haven't, the previous transition deadline for many wireless broadband licensees was in April, but due to the coronavirus pandemic and its effects on business, the FCC has decided to push that date back. So any transition that was required before October 17th has now been extended to October 17th. So whether you had to transition in the April date that most licensees had to transition, or whether you have to transition in July or September, all of those dates have now been granted an automatic extension to October 17th. NN licenses under Part 90Z only apply to devices certified under Part 90. So we've had a few people reach out to us and say, well, I have an NN license, but I want to use this CBSD in the upper 50 megahertz, and the SAS isn't allowing me to do that. Unfortunately, the NN license only applies for devices certified under Part 90, and since CBSDs are certified under Part 96, and the SAS is certified under Part 96, and we have to comply with the rules and regulations that apply specifically to Part 96, we are not allowed to issue grants for devices under we're not allowed to issue grants to CBSDs, even if the operator of that CBSD has an NN license under Part 90. The last part here, some devices may be certified under both Part 90Z and Part 96, but even in this case, similar to what I just mentioned, even if a device is able to operate under both parts, is certified to operate under both parts by the FCC, that rules is still not permitted to access that upper 50 megahertz if those upper 50 megahertz are protected by a grandfathered license. So if you are a wireless broadband licensee, what do you need to do in order to migrate to Part 96? So probably the first thing that you would do is deploy a base transceiver station CBSD or a BTS CBSD. There's really no difference functionally between a BTS CBSD and any other CBSD. It's really more of a descriptive term to say, I want this particular CBSD to be a base station. Once you get your BTS CBSD deployed, you're going to want to request a grant for the equivalent carrier bandwidth that your Part 90 devices are using, but you'll have to request bandwidth in the lower 100 megahertz of the CBRS spectrum, and that's 3550 to 3650 megahertz. You can do a test to make sure that your BTS CBSD is authorized to transmit and that it is transmitting, and you're able to establish a link with it. The next step would be to deploy CPE CBSDs. So CPE, customer premise equipment, right? The devices that are installed on premise with your customers. Those CPE CBSDs need to request the same grant as the BTS CBSD. And again, you're going to want to confirm connectivity, and once you have your customers set up with their CPEs, then they should be able to receive wireless internet access over CBRS. So this step may or may not apply to you. So if you are a Part 90 operator, you may or may not have submitted a request to the FCC for grandfathered site status for your CBSDs. If you, or sorry, not for your CBSDs, for your Part 90 devices. If you did submit a request for grandfathered status to the FCC and it was granted, then you will not be able to use the upper 50 megahertz of CBRS until you revoke your grandfathered status, or until your grandfathered status expires based on the date, the transition cutoff date that the FCC has given to you. Once you revoke the grandfathered status, Part 90Z devices will not be protected from interference, but they can still be operated until the FCC mandated transition date. And the last step, this is more of an optional step because you can operate in the lower 100 megahertz of CBRS if you would like to. But if you want to have the same spectrum that you were using with your Part 90 devices, then you'll have to contact us to let us know that you have revoked your grandfathered status from the FCC database. That way we can reach out to them to get the updated file that our SAS needs in order to allow your devices to transmit in the upper 50 megahertz. So to be clear, even if you revoke your grandfathered status with the FCC, until we receive that update from the FCC, you still won't be able to grant requests. You still won't be able to request grants for 3650 to 3700. So if this is something that you're thinking about doing, please reach out to us, let us know. That way we can help facilitate that transition for you. And yeah, again, I mentioned that optionally, you can transition your CBSDs back to the upper 50 megahertz if desired once the SAS has received that update from the FCC. So what are some of the challenges that you might encounter while migrating a Part 90 device? So if your device is near a coast, if it's within a DPA neighborhood, and we have a lot more information on DPAs in our help center. If your device is near the coast, the lower 100 megahertz are subject to DPA activations. Now, your device may or may not be on a DPA move list. Remember that list are suspended when a DPA is activated. Your device could be near the coast, but if it's not on a move list, it won't be affected by DPAs. You can see which move lists your grants belong to by checking in the SAS portal. Under the Grants tab, there is a section that describes which move lists, if any move lists, your device is on. If your device shows any move list, it is subject to temporary suspension from time to time. Now, what you want to do here is talk to your device vendor to understand how your CBSD or your domain proxy reacts when receiving suspended grants from the SAS. Different CBSDs have different behaviors here. Some CBSDs require the user to manually change the channel when a channel is suspended. Other devices will automatically search for new channels. So it really does depend on your device vendor. So it's important that you connect with them and understand how your device operates. Many people have requested support when DPAs have been activated, asking, why doesn't the SAS reassign a channel to my device? And the SAS does not actually assign channels to devices. It only tells devices which channels are available. It's up to the CBSD to change channels when receiving a grant suspension. The SAS can't force a device that we don't own and control to pick a channel to transmit on. So we can only make recommendations, and it's up to the CBSD to make those changes. So again, make sure that you talk to your device manufacturer to understand what happens if you are transitioning from Part 9D and you're in a coastal region when the Navy comes into the area and a DPA is activated. Some other migration challenges. So you may not be the only Part 9DZ operator in your area, and other Part 9DZ operators may also have submitted grandfathered status for their devices. And if they submitted grandfathered status for their devices, revoking your grandfathered status may not immediately make the upper 50 megahertz available. You may see temporary grant suspensions because you're near another Part 90Z operator and the SAS has to do interference calculations before it can authorize a grant. So it would have to wait for CPAS to receive a grant. It may be that you're granted at a reduced power because you're close to a Part 90Z operator. And it depending on how close you are to the other Part 90Z operator, it's possible that your grant would just be rejected if the other operator has a grandfathered site that overlaps partially with yours. So again, even in this situation, the lower 100 megahertz are not affected by Part 90Z, and so the lower 100 megahertz are available to you to use in this scenario. And lastly, fixed satellite stations. This is separate from grandfathered status, so it turns out that while any Part 90Z device is active within a 150 kilometer radius of a fixed satellite station, the upper 50 megahertz has to be protected from other CBSD interference, and this is an FCC and WinForm requirement. So until every Part 90Z device is disabled within a 150 kilometer radius of an FSS, the upper 50 megahertz will not be available in that same radius to any CBSD. So over time, as more Part 90Z operators transition from using their Part 90 devices to using CBSDs, all of the FSS areas will have a much smaller impact because FSS, and we won't have to protect such a wide area around the FSS. And so this issue affects, I'd say the biggest effects we've seen are near the Bay Area and around LA, where there are two big FSS operators and a number of wireless broadband licensees who operate. So that's where you're most likely to see this, but there are some other places as well. That's everything that I have for today. If anyone has questions about migrating from Part 90Z, or if you have any questions about the SAS or CBRS, this is your time to ask questions, to have my ear and hear my thoughts, and provide feedback on the SAS or on these sessions. However I can be helpful to you in this time. I want to make sure that we can connect with our customers as often and provide as much help as we can. So please feel free to send in your questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, it seems that we don't have any questions today, so thank you everybody for coming to CBRS office hours. If you have any questions that come up later or feedback about this session, please feel free to email sas-support@google.com. Have a good weekend, everybody.